63 years old, 2 replaced knees, and a bad rotator cuff. And somehow, getting thrown off a cliff still wasn't the worst thing that happened to me that Saturday. The worst thing was what my wife whispered afterward. But we'll get there. Welcome back to Dad's True Revenge. Grab your snacks, get comfortable, and remember, the people in these stories had every chance to behave themselves. They just chose wrong. Drop a comment and be sure to subscribe. You're going to love it here. My name is Zach Roberts, retired civil engineer, Asheville, North Carolina. 35 years calculating load tolerances so other people's structures wouldn't collapse. The irony of my own life collapsing is not lost on me. My wife is Harper Roberts, 59, former librarian, heirloom tomato grower, keeper of secrets that would have made the CIA nervous. 34 years of marriage. I thought I knew everything about her. I didn't know a single thing. Our son is Derek Roberts, 31, software developer, got his mother's eyes and my stubbornness. Dangerous combination. 2 years ago, he brought home a girl named Mia Chin, sharp, sweet art history degree from UNC Asheville. She made Derek laugh in a way I hadn't seen since he was 12. We loved Mia, or whoever the hell she actually was. Saturday, October 12th, 7:14 a.m. The trailhead at Black Balsam Knob in Pisgah National Forest was cold and quiet. I had my North Face fleece, hiking poles, a thermos of black coffee, and absolutely zero premonitions that this would be the last normal morning of my life. Dad, you sure you're up for the elevation? Derek asked, tightening his bootlaces, casually, like a caring son. I know now what that was. Reconnaissance. Son, I've hiked this trail 11 times. The only thing slowing me down is your mother photographing every mushroom she sees. Harper, 20 feet ahead, phone already pointed at orange fungi, didn't turn around. I heard that, Zach. Good. It was meant to be heard. Mia laughed. Bright, easy, completely convincing. She looped her arm through Derek's and leaned on his shoulder. J. Crew advertisement for fall hiking. Beautiful, comfortable, rehearsed. God, they were rehearsed. We talked about nothing important for 2 miles. Derek mentioned a promotion. Mia asked Harper about her sister in Knoxville. I complained about my knee, and everyone ignored me with the practiced ease of a family that had been doing exactly that for 6 years. It felt normal. It was supposed to feel normal. Here's what you need to understand about our land before any of this makes sense. The Roberts family has owned 47 acres on Ridgeline Road in Buncombe County since 1971. My father bought it for next to nothing. Scrubby, beautiful, supposedly useless land. Hardwood forest, a creek, a falling down equipment shed. He built a house on 12 acres. I grew up there. Harper and I raised Derek there. The other 35 acres sat untouched for decades. Extraordinarily valuable as it turned out. We just didn't know it yet. 3 months before this hike, a letter arrived from Crestline Mineral Partners LLC out of Charlotte about development opportunities. On our property, I assumed solar farm pitch, set it on the counter, forgot about it. I didn't know it yet, but that letter was the reason we were on this mountain. The push came at mile 4. Near the Art Loeb Trail junction, the path narrows to 3 feet, rock face one side, serious drop on the other. I'd walked it a dozen times without a second thought. I was ahead of Harper. Derek and Mia were behind her. 4 seconds. That's all it took. I heard Harper make a sharp, surprised exhale. Then she was falling and I lunged without thinking and something hit me square in the back. Hard. 2 hands. Deliberate. Then there was no trail. Just air. Cold air. The mountainside scrub brush rocks, loose shale tearing through my fleece, and then a narrow ledge 40 feet below. We hit it. Harper first. Then me, shoulder slamming into a boulder that stopped my slide 2 feet from another drop. Silence. Harper. My voice came out wrong. Too thin. Answer me. A groan. Then, Zach. I'm here. She was against the rock face, blood painting a thin red line from her hairline down her cheek. I took inventory. Ribs. Definitely cracked. Shoulder. Bad. Both palms shredded. Knees miraculously fine. Apparently replacement parts are indestructible. Above us, voices. Derek. Oh God. They fell. Mia cutting through his panic like a scalpel. Are they moving? Silence. 1 second. 2. Derek quieter. I can't tell. Mia. Quieter still. And I will hear this for the rest of my life. We need to go get help. From the trailhead. We need to go now, Derek. Not I'll call 910. Not let me try to reach them. We need to go now. I opened my mouth. Harper's hand found my arm, grip surprisingly strong for a woman with a head wound. Don't. Barely a whisper. Don't make a sound. Harper, we need... Zach. Her eyes found mine. Clear. Frighteningly clear. Pretend. We're dead. My wife, who cried at insurance commercials, was telling me to play dead after our son pushed us off a cliff. He knew, she said. He walked us to that spot on purpose. Above us, footsteps moving away, getting quieter, gone. I lay there for 60 seconds that felt like 60 years, listening to my heartbeat and the wind in the silence where my son's voice used to be. Then Harper made a sound I'd never heard in 34 years. Something between a sob and a laugh, like a person setting down a weight they'd carried so long they'd forgotten it wasn't part of them. There's something I have to tell you, she whispered. About the land. About Mia. About all of it. The girl Derek brought home. She continued. The real Mia Chen. She died, Zach, 8 months ago. Car accident on I-26. I saw the obituary. She paused. 3 weeks later, Derek brought her home for Sunday dinner like nothing had happened. I couldn't speak. The woman in our house is not Mia. I don't know her real name. I don't know who sent her. But I know what they want. She closed her eyes. Because I'm the one who buried it. Buried what? Harper. What did you bury on our land? She looked at me, exhausted, relieved, terrified. A confession waiting 30 years for the right catastrophe. A deed, she said. A letter. Proof that your father didn't actually own that land when he bought it, and proof of who did. Somewhere above us, a woman who wasn't Mia Chen was walking away with my son. I didn't know it yet, but she had already filed paperwork to transfer the land title. We had 72 hours. I looked at my secret-keeping, document-burying, conspiracy-surviving wife, and said the only reasonable thing. You couldn't have mentioned this before the hike. Harper laughed. Winced. I winced watching her. Help me up, she said. We've got a mountain to climb. If you've made it this far, do us one quick favor. Subscribe. A lot of people watch without ever doing it, but it costs you nothing and means everything to us. Thank you, genuinely. Nobody tells you what surviving looks like. Movies give you the dramatic stand. Bloodied hero, jaw set, eyes cold. What they don't show is a 63-year-old civil engineer with 2 replaced knees, 3 cracked ribs and shredded palms, trying to stand on a 40-foot ledge without grabbing the one piece of loose shale that sends him the rest of the way down. 11 minutes just to get vertical, I counted. Approximately 9:40 a.m. that day. Harper had pulled herself against the rock face, left ankle swollen, boot straining, right ankle is worse. The gash above her hairline had slowed to a dark seep. Jaw set in that way meant serious pain, pretending otherwise indefinitely. 34 years of marriage. I knew every expression she owned, except the one she'd been wearing for 30 years over a secret that could burn our lives down. Stop looking at me like that, she said. Like what? Like I'm a stranger. Too late for that. Tell me about the deed. Can we focus on the cliff first? Harper, deed. She exhaled, then, your father bought our land in 1971 from a man named Gerald Pratt, old Buncombe County family. Gambling debts. Your father paid $4,200 for 47 acres, recorded at the county clerk's office, legal on paper. 22 acres, the western slope, the creek bed, up toward the ridge, belonged to his sister, Ruth Pratt. She'd inherited them from their mother in 1958. Gerald forged her signature on the transfer. How do you know this? Ruth told me herself. 1994, 71 years old, nursing home in Weaverville. 23 years of trying to get someone to listen. No money, no lawyer, no family left. Harper shifted and winced. She had the original deed and a letter from her mother's estate attorney proving the land was hers. She asked me to keep them safe, said she trusted a librarian. A small, tired smile. I was 31 and thought I was doing a kind thing. And you buried them, and never told me. Ruth died 4 months later. No lawsuit, no heir making a claim. I was pregnant with Derek. I put everything in a waterproof box under the equipment shed floor and told myself I'd figure it out later. Then Crestline sent that letter. Then Derek started asking strange questions about the survey records. Then she came back from Hendersonville with a different haircut. And I realized, I went still. What do you mean, different haircut? The real Mia had a scar below her left ear. Skateboarding accident, she told me at Thanksgiving, laughed about it. Harper touched her own jaw. The woman who came back didn't have it. How long have you known? She looked at me. 7 months. 7 months. You sat at Sunday dinners for 7 months. I was gathering information. Sharp now. Librarian precise. If I'd panicked, they'd have moved faster. I needed to know who sent her. I needed to know how far Derek was in. The wind moved through the trees. Somewhere below, a woodpecker went about its unbothered life. How far is he in? I asked. Harper didn't answer. That was its own kind of answer. Getting her up 40 feet of loose terrain, bad ankle, my cracked ribs, a belt and a length of paracord I will never hike without again, took 47 minutes and a level of profanity that disturbed the local wildlife. At the 20-minute mark, you're favoring your shoulder. Harper, I swear to God, biomechanically speaking. Biomechanically, my wife buried a 30-year land fraud case under our equipment shed and someone hired a con artist to sleep with my son. So maybe let me favor my shoulder in peace. She laughed, winced, kept climbing. I loved her so much in that moment my cracked ribs felt polite by comparison. At the trailhead, Derek's blue Subaru Outback was gone. My truck was there, zip-tied to the door handle, a small manila envelope. Inside, a quitclaim deed transferring the Ridgeline Road property from Zach and Harper Roberts to Northgate Property Holdings LLC. My signature. Harper's signature. We hadn't signed anything. She's good, Harper said. Yeah. The forged signatures were clean, confident, convincing. My stomach turned slowly. She is. I ran the math. 11:20 a.m. County Recorder's Office closed at noon on Saturdays. 40 minutes. I put the truck in reverse. Call Frank Delaney. Frank was our family attorney. 67, semi-retired, sharp as a carpet tack. The kind of man who answered Saturdays because he'd never learned not to. 2 rings. Harper Roberts, haven't heard from you since the Hendersons' 4th of July. Precise. We need an emergency filing blocked at the Buncombe County Recorder's Office. Quitclaim deed on Ridgeline Road, transferring to Northgate Property Holdings LLC. It's forged. We need a list pendants immediately. Pause. We just survived an attempt on our lives, so I need you to be very Frank Delaney about this. Silence. Then, I'll call Judge Patricia Morrow. She owes me a poker debt. Harper, are you safe? Harper looked at me. Dried blood on my hands. Shoulder grinding. Ribs in open revolt. We're functional, she said. Frank reached Judge Morrow at 11:48. Emergency hold on the title at 11:54. 6 minutes to spare. I learned that in the parking lot of Mission Hospital on Biltmore Avenue, watching paramedics wheel Harper in, feeling the adrenaline drain out like water from a bathtub. Everything numb was filing complaints now. Ribs, shoulder, palms, pride. Harper's cracked phone buzzed. Derek, Dad, I've been trying to reach you. We lost you on the trail. Are you and Mom okay? Please call me. We got worried. I thought about him at 7, crying over a bike trick he couldn't land. At 14, falling asleep in a hospital chair, refusing to go home while Harper had her appendix out. 2 years ago in our kitchen. Mom, Dad, this is Mia. I really want you to like her. That nervous, hopeful look no grown man can fully hide from his parents. Then I thought about 2 hands hitting my back. Hard, deliberate, no hesitation. I put the phone in my pocket. Inside, Dr. Chris Adams was telling Harper she had a grade 2 sprain, a hairline fibula fracture, and a mild concussion. She was arguing about the concussion with the focused energy of a woman who had places to be. I sat beside her bed, looked at the ceiling, and made my list. Northgate Property Holdings, LLC. Registered agent. Charlotte. The real Mia Chen. Sophisticated operation, which meant money, which meant a trail. The equipment shed. Harper's buried box. We needed it before they did. And Derek, my son, somewhere between villain and victim, and I was going to find out exactly which, whether I was ready or not. Zach. Harper's hand found mine. We're going to be okay. I know. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I looked at my wife, bandaged, pale, bruised, monitor blinking cheerfully, 34 years of marriage and 30 years of secrets in her eyes. We're going to talk about that, I said, at length. I know, But first we're going to burn Northgate Property Holdings LLC to the ground. Harper Roberts, retired librarian, concussed, fractured fibula, 7 months of solo counterintelligence under her belt, squeezed my hand. That's my husband, she said. I didn't know it yet. But the name on the Northgate LLC registration was going to change everything I thought I knew about why my father bought that land in 1971. And it was going to make the cliff feel like a warm-up. If you've been listening for a while and want stories like this to keep coming, it really helps if you hit that like button and subscribe. 97% of people never do, but it's what keeps this whole thing running. So, thank you for real. Revenge is a word soft people dress up in ugly clothes to make it sound worse than it is. I prefer to call it structural correction. 35 years making sure bridges didn't collapse. When they did, you didn't patch the crack and walk away. You found the original failure point, traced it all the way back, and tore out every compromised beam until you hit solid foundation. That's not revenge. That's engineering. Sunday, October 13th, 6:14 a.m. I didn't sleep. Harper slept. Hospital painkillers and a fractured fibula will do that. I sat beside her bed and worked. Her cracked phone. Frank's legal database login forwarded at 1 a.m. without question, because 19 years of attorney-client relationship teaches a man when not to ask why. By 6 a.m. I had 3 pages of notes, 2 cups of terrible hospital coffee, and the name of every person about to regret the last 2 years of their lives. Northgate Property Holdings LLC, registered in Delaware, Charlotte mailing address, registered agent, Boyd Harwell, attorney, 47 offices on South Tryon Street. I cross-referenced against Crestline Mineral Partners LLC. Same registered agent. Same formation date, 14 months ago. Same address. I pulled Harwell's professional history. Clerked for a Buncombe County probate judge 22 years ago. Specialized in estate law and mineral rights acquisition across western North Carolina. And his mother's maiden name, buried in a 2003 Asheville Citizen-Times obituary, I found at 4:17 a.m. Pratt. I put my pen down. Gerald Pratt's grandson, Boyd Harwell, had spent years building legal infrastructure to reclaim land his grandfather fraudulently sold in 1971. Not for justice. For the mineral rights. A lithium deposit per a geological survey filed 14 months ago, the same month Northgate formed, estimated between $40 and $90 million. 40 to 90 million. Under my equipment shed. Under Harper's buried box. Under land my father bought for $4,200 and a handshake. I looked at my wife sleeping across the room, bandaged, fractured, monitors blinking, and felt something settle in my chest, like a load-bearing beam locking into place. Clean, solid, locked. All right, Boyd, I said quietly. Let's build something. Harper was discharged at 9 a.m. Dr. Adams handed over paperwork with the expression of a man who knew he was being ignored. Minimal weight on the fibula. No strenuous. Absolutely, Harper said, already reading my legal pad over my shoulder. In the truck, she read every page twice. Then she looked out on Sunday morning Biltmore Avenue, and I watched the same thing cross her face that had settled in my chest at 4 a.m. He's been planning this for years, she said. At least 5. He needed someone inside the house to find the documents. He needed Derek. Harper went quiet. Then, how do you want to handle our son? Carefully, I said. And then not carefully at all. The blue Subaru Outback was parked in front of our house on Ridgeline Road. They'd come back. Comfortable. Confidence. They thought we were dead. I didn't knock on my own front door, I just opened it. Derek was in the kitchen, still in yesterday's hiking clothes, coffee mug in hand. He looked up. The color left his face in one clean sheet. Dad, sit down. He sat. He looked 17 again. Kid who just dented my truck. Except this dent was 40 feet, a forged deed, and a dead girl's identity. Where is she? I asked. His eyes moved involuntarily toward the hallway. Bedroom. Good. Derek. Harper's voice from the doorway. Quiet. Even. The librarian voice, somehow worse than shouting. Did you know she wasn't Mia before or after Hendersonville? His jaw worked. Before, he whispered. Harper nodded like she was confirming something she'd already filed. It came out then, halting at first, then in a rush. Boyd Harwell had contacted Derek 8 months ago, presented himself as an attorney with a title dispute, showed him the geological survey, and showed him the lithium numbers. told him a legal challenge was inevitable, but that cooperation meant the family received a settlement before the title reverted. $2 million. That was the number that my son bought. He said nobody would get hurt, Derek said hollowly. He said it would look like a voluntary sale. You'd never have to know. And when Mia died, his hands tightened around the mug. He said it was a coincidence. I didn't want to believe. But you brought his operative into our home, Harper said. You looked us in the eye every Sunday for 7 months. Derek put his face in his hands. I watched him and felt the two versions I'd been carrying since yesterday, villain and victim, collapse into one complicated, heartbreaking truth. Not a mastermind, not innocent. A 31-year-old man who'd been greedy, scared, manipulated, and weak, in that combination that doesn't make you evil, but doesn't make you forgiven either. Not today. What's her real name? I asked. Harwell called her Cassie. I don't know her last name. Stay in this kitchen, don't touch your phone. I looked at my son, really looked at him. We're not finished, but right now I have bigger problems. I walked down the hallway without knocking. She was already awake, dressed, boots on, calculating the moment she heard the front door. Fast. I'll give her that. Her face arranged itself into shocked relief the instant I entered. Zach. Oh my God, you're alive. Put the phone down, Cassie. The relief dropped. Clean. Instant. 1 second a mask, the next, nothing. A professional neutral that confirmed everything I needed to know about exactly how dangerous she was. Here's what's happening, I said, leaning on the doorframe, voice conversational, because I had not survived a 40-foot cliff to lose my composure in my own bedroom. Detective Ray Kowalski from the Buncombe County Sheriff's Office is 40 minutes away. He already has the forged deed, the LLC documentation connecting Harwell to Crestline, and a formal assault report from Black Balsam Knob. I tilted my head. Harwell's Charlotte office was served with an emergency injunction at 7 a.m. this morning. The state bar received a formal complaint at 6:30. Her jaw tightened, barely, but I saw it. The real Mia Chen died on I-26 8 months ago. The accident report says single vehicle. Clean. I paused. Except traffic camera footage on that stretch is retained for 12 months. We're at 8. Kowalski requested the review at 8:15 this morning. She stood up. I want a lawyer. Smartest thing you've said in 2 years. I stepped aside. Kitchen. Sit next to the man whose family you helped try to murder. Wait for Kowalski. Boyd Harwell was arrested Monday afternoon. Conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, filing false instruments, and when the NCHP traffic review came back showing a second vehicle's paint transfer on Mia Chen's car, conspiracy in a vehicular homicide investigation. The lithium deposit was worth closer to $80 million. Frank spent 4 months assembling the case from Harper's buried documents. Ruth Pratt's original deed. Gerald Pratt's forged signature. 30 years of careful custodianship by a librarian who trusted that the truth was patient. The mineral rights belonged to Ruth's estate. Ruth died without heirs. Frank found a mechanism, novel enough to end up in a law journal, by which the Roberts family, as documented custodians who'd brought the fraud to light, received formal compensation. I won't tell you the exact number. It had 8 figures. Harper cried when Frank told us. I didn't cry. I sat at the kitchen window looking at the equipment shed and thought about a 71-year-old woman in a Weaverville nursing home who'd handed a waterproof box to a 31-year-old librarian because she'd run out of anyone else to trust. I thought about how justice has these long, slow mechanisms that grind so quietly you forget they're moving. And then they arrive. Cassie, real name Lauren Voss, former paralegal from Greensboro, fraud conviction 2019. Exactly the kind of background Harwell found useful. Took a plea deal in February. 18 months. Testified against Harwell for the reduction. Harwell went to trial. I testified 4 hours. Wore the same suit from Derek's college graduation, the only one that still fit. And I wanted to look exactly like what I was, a 63-year-old retired engineer from Asheville who got pushed off a mountain and was profoundly displeased about it. Jury took 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. I watched Harwell's face when the verdict came. Stunned. The expression of a man who'd built an elaborate structure and couldn't understand why it collapsed. As a structural engineer, I could have told him, you didn't account for the load-bearing points. You moved against the foundation. The foundation held. Derek cooperated fully. Testified against Harwell, sat at our kitchen table one November Tuesday, and said everything that needed saying, while Harper and I said everything back. None of it easy, none of it short. Most of it stays private. It belongs to us. No prison, cooperating witness, deferred prosecution, 2 years probation, community service, mandatory counseling he needed long before any of this happened. He moved to a smaller place in West Asheville, goes to counseling, actually goes, calls on Sundays. Sometimes I answer first ring. Sometimes it takes a few more. Harper answers every time. She's a better person than I am. Always was. I just didn't know the full depth of it until I watched her climb 40 feet of loose mountainside on a fractured fibula, with the calm of someone finally setting down a weight they'd carried for 30 years. We demolished the equipment shed in January, under the concrete floor, perfectly preserved in a waterproof metal box that had held for 3 decades, were 2 documents. A deed, a letter, Ruth Pratt's handwriting, careful and deliberate, ink yellowed at the edges but every word intact. Harper held the letter a long time before handing it to Frank. "What does it say?" I asked. "She says she hopes whoever finds it does the right thing. She says she's tired of fighting and trusts that the truth is patient." Harper folded it carefully. "She says she believes in librarians." I looked at my wife, 4 months from the cliff, walking without a crutch, heirloom tomato catalogs already stacking up for spring, 3 books going simultaneously like nothing had interrupted her, and thought about structural integrity, about what holds, about what you find out about a person when the mountain falls away. "Ruth had good instincts," I said. Harper handed the letter to Frank. "She really did. We hike Black Balsam Knob every October, just the 2 of us now. My poles, her north face, the thermos of black coffee, same trail, same 4 miles. We stand at the narrow section near the Artlobe Junction, where the path drops away, and we look at the view without saying anything about it. We don't need to. The mountain is still there. So are we. That's the only revenge that lasts. Not the verdict, not the 8-figure settlement that made Boyd Harwell's years of scheming the most expensive mistake in Buncombe County history. It's the October morning, the cold in your collar. The coffee is still warm at mile 4. It's being the thing that didn't fall. If you like this story, join our community by hitting that like button and subscribing for more real, raw, and family-centered stories. And as always, thank you for being part of this sphere.